So I hope different sensor platforms, it is clear to you. So just spaceboard sensor, we are just discuss a few things, like, natural satellite. Do you know what is satellite? Anyone?
Two types of satellite, there man-made and like artificial. For example, we can consider moon as a natural satellite, and
Hmm.
artificial ones are that which orbit the Earth and collect some information about the weather and climate patterns. For
No, no,
example,
I'm not talking what is satellite. I'm talking define the satellite. I don't want
Anything that
names.
orbits around the earth is
That's
satellite.
very correct. Samrit is right. So anything revolving around the Earth is your satellite, and natural satellite is our moon. And our remote sensing sensors, which are placed in the space, are basically artificial or man-made, we can say. It's a man-made satellite. Okay. So the path our satellite is taking, satellite, platform, or sensor, all are same. Okay. So satellite, sensor, or platform, the path which is taken by or taken around the Earth is your orbit. Is that clear? And the total duration completed by one sensor or platform is your orbital period. Is that clear to you? Please say yes or no, because I'm not
Yes.
able to understand. Yes or no? Huh? Okay.
but
So see, suppose we know that it's a north, it's a south, it's a east, it's a west. Our sensor started from the north. Okay. And it was taken north to south and south to north. If it is taking this path, it's your orbit of that satellite or your sensor. Okay. And the period or time which is taken to complete that, like from here to here, going to back, the time is taken by this platform or sensor is your orbital period. Is that clear to you? Suppose it is taking 20 hours to 20 hours. If 10 hours or in a 10 hours it is completing, that is your orbital period. Is that clear? So there are two types of orbital, or there is two types of orbit actually, which are the path which our sensor is taking basically. So I just see there are some questions actually. Uh, let me answer these questions. Okay. Very good. Somebody has given the answer. Then how temporal resolution and spatial resolution? Please wait. You are in hurry. I'm coming to that place also. Okay. Can sensor be destroyed in space? See, one more question is there. Can a sensor be destroyed by space debris? See, lots of questions are there, because if you see the sensor, or if you see our Earth from the some other satellites, so what you're going to find that around the Earth, several sensor or platforms are there, all are revolving, because every satellite or sensor is having one time, for 10 years, 5 years, or 15 years, it is launched in a space. But after that, we are not able to remove it, that is rotating around the Earth. And if you see lots of, so many satellites are there for our weather purpose, for our communication purpose, for our detail, whatever, for different applications, we have different sensors. So that is placed in this orbit actually. Okay. And they all are rotating around the Earth, this direction. And if you see, all are rotating like this, and we are not able to remove it. There are discussions, we should destroy it, we should bring it back, something we should do it, because in future there will be jam kind of situation, traffic kind of situation will be there in a space also, because every country, they are launching their own satellite, their sensor. So everything is rotating around the Earth only. So again, that is a big question. We can do or not, there is discussion, and probably after some times we'll see that probably we can bring back to our space, or we can destroy it. And if we are destroying also, it is going to rotate in, revolving in the space only, it will be in a space only, we cannot bring it back. So probably in future our science will be developed and we can bring it back to our Earth. I hope so. Okay. So just like this, our sensor is going to take the path. Anup, is there any problem?
Ma'am, somebody is trying to share. Anand Palji, try to stop sharing your content. Ma'am, can you please share your content again?
Suddenly it was stopped. So I thought network issue is there or what? Anand Pal will stop sharing content as soon as you start sharing. Okay. So participants, I'm audible to you and my PPT is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
So you
Yes,
can
yes,
see now, right? How our this
Yes,
path
ma'am.
is followed by the sensor, right? So see, as I told you, we have north, south, east, west. So this is your equator, right? And this is your north, south. So two types of orbits are there. One is your this type of setup, and this one is the another setup. So if our sensor is revolving our parallel to equator like this, okay, that is called as geosynchronous or geostationary orbit. Why this geosynchronous or geostationary? Can you tell me? Anyone?
It stays at
ma'am, because it is in the
position.
sync with the rotation of the Earth.
Very good. So have you attended our earlier classes also, Samriddhi?
Ma'am, actually, I am a geology student only, and I have done remote sensing course in my own.
Okay, okay. So you have not attended our training program? Any?
Ma'am, I have attended Indian Institute of Remote Sensing program
Okay,
for
right.
remote sensing.
Okay, fine. So Samriddhi is very right actually, because it's a sync with the rotation of the Earth. So that's why it's a geosynchronous. But why geostationary?
Because if you can look at the image that this satellite is stationary to at one position of the Earth. Okay, so that's why the term is stationary. Suppose a satellite is facing India, so it will cover only that part and it will stay automatically with this. That's why geo means Earth and stationary means for that purpose. The Earth is also rotating and satellite is also rotating at the same speed, which relays that both are in at the same place at the time.
Very good. I'm very happy that you all are very much aware of the remote sensing, and I'm very glad and you are interacting also. So Ripon has said correctly actually, stationary, why? It is synchronized with the rotation of the Earth. Once it's synchronized with the rotation of the Earth, what will happen? Our sensor and Earth both are rotating with the same speed. Okay. So it seems that it's a stationary, means it's not moving. Actually, it's moving, but because both are rotating at the same speed, that's why it is stationary. So it is called as geostationary or geosynchronous. Okay. I hope it is very clear to all. And see the altitude for this sensor actually when it is placed parallel to our equator, altitude is more than 36,000 kilometers. Morely, this 36,000 kilometer we are placing this, and especially for weather and communication, whatever satellites we are placing, that is following this orbit only. And see this one, polar or near polar, because we know North Pole, South Pole. Okay, so it is called as polar orbit or near polar. Why near polar? Because it's a north, this is south. So exactly we don't have this north-south polar. It is slightly inclined, because of that inclination we call it near polar. And sometimes we call it sun synchronous. Why sun synchronous? Now you will be able to understand. Synchronized with the time, local time, or local time means if it's a 10 o'clock, means suppose it is visiting one particular location at 10 o'clock, so it is going to revisit that location at 10 o'clock, means it is synchronized with the time. That's why it is called as sun synchronous. Okay, and altitude you just see it here, more than 700 kilometers. So this altitude is more than 700 kilometers. Okay, and mostly geosciences application or whatever we are using for our any application part like geosciences, engineering, agriculture, forest, whatever we are using, basically we are using this orbit only. Why? Anyone can give the answer why this orbit is useful for us? Anyone?
Question.
Covers the entire Earth. It
It
monitors
covers the
entire.
entire Earth within a shorter period of time. Why? Because this is also rotating and our Earth is also rotating. So, in a shorter period of time, we are able to cover entire world. Okay, that's why maximum time, whatever satellite data we are using, basically that is your it is following the orbit, polar or near polar or sun synchronous. So if you are going to the detail of the any data, you are going to get the information about that it's a sun synchronous orbit or polar
Ma'am,
orbit.
I have a
near
doubt
orbit.
regarding
Please.
the polar. Ma'am, as we can see that in geostationary, both the satellite and the rotation of the Earth is in same manner. So the signal which is being reflected, it will be received by the sensor very easily. But in case of polar, since it's also moving with respect to time, so how it's capturing the reflected energy? Means, I'm curious to know that.
Good question. See, it is rotating. It is synchronized with the Earth. Like if it's a synchronized, suppose from India, okay, it has been launched on the day or the time it is going to collect the data. Suppose it started from 12 o'clock in the daytime. Suppose, for example, okay. So 10 o'clock it is going to reach Andhra. 12 o'clock it is going to reach some other state, and after that some other set. So like that it is going to cover. So during daytime, suppose it has been placed here, okay, but at the same time it is rotating and here total dark. So probably it is going to get the data, but it is synchronized with the time. So what will happen, suppose is during daytime it is covering for this part, so it is going to rotate this side. The Earth is also rotating, so there it will be the daytime, okay. So it is going to cover the data. Is that clear to you?
Okay, ma'am.
So it is synchronized with the time basically. So you are going to get the data. There is another question. So I'll discuss about temporal resolution and spatial resolution. Don't worry. Can sensor? Okay, fine. Is there any limit of minimum orbital period in a sun-synchronous orbit? See, for every sensor, everything is fixed. How much time it is going to take? It is hour or it's a day or whatever is there. It is once sensor is launched, accordingly it is designed. So how much time it is going to take or how many orbital period it is going to take, that is fixed for every sensor, okay. So during sensor design only it is already decided. So if you have Landsat 7 or like that, okay, it is having some orbital period for the 16 days. Means suppose it is covering this part, so what will happen after 16 days again it is going to reach this place. Orbital period is like that only. Is that clear to you? So yes, so during sensor designing only everything is decided, okay. So you can just see how remote sensing has improved. As I told you that earlier days this remote sensing was means once it was in an initial stage and science was not that much of developed, so we used to get the single image like this, black and white. Then remote sensing advancement was there, so in technology, so we were able to get multispectral bands, more than one bands, okay. Then with the time nowadays hyperspectral data sets are there. Now we have instruments like spectroradiometers we have. So not only we are able to generate the satellite imagery, but also we are able to generate the spectral curve of the particular object. And on that basis also we are able to identify the features. So with the time, with the single band to multi-band and then more than 100 bands, now we have the data set. So our remote sensing has developed like that, okay. So just you see it, our aerial photography, as I told you, like how, because we have lab. So aerial photography, you just see it here and data will be like this. Or if you have, sometimes we have satellite imagery in hard copy. Earlier days, we used to use like this only, and we used to interpret like this, okay. And after that, now we are in a part of digital remote sensing. Digital means we have the digital format of the data and we are able to process in a software. Earlier days, what was there? Some band combination they are giving, we have to interpret the data. Now we have the options. We are using our computer or we have softwares. We are downloading our data sets and we are changing the band combination. We are zooming in, zoom out, crop it. Multiple things we are able to do with this diagnosis. So with the technology, many things with the advancement, many things are new now. So you just see it. Our earlier workers, earlier days, how they were able to interpret the satellite images. Obviously, in a black and white or gray images, it's difficult to identify the features. But our earlier days, our senior officials and our seniors, they used to work like this. Afterwards, they adopted this technique, and nowadays we are doing in this. So with this advancement happened. So if you are coming to our GSI office or GSITI Hyderabad, so we are giving this exercise also, so that you should know how to interpret that data and how it looks actually. We are giving this one exercise also, and we are providing this exercise also. So you can learn the things, how to process, how to interpret the data, what is the advantage, what is the disadvantage with all the three things. So such kind of practical exercises you can do in our headquarters. So here some different types of remote sensing types, like multispectral is there, hyperspectral is there, thermal remote sensing, and microwave remote sensing. Because of the reasons where we are able to collect the data, accordingly we have given the names also. Multispectral, and just see the example, Landsat 8 or STAR, Sentinel, Cartosat or Resourcet. These are the examples of multispectral remote sensing. Hyperspectral means Veris is there, Hyperion is there. Nowadays, if you are in a research or if you are in faculty, so you are going to use this Averis NG. We have certain data for our country for certain parts. Then thermal bands, because thermal remote sensing, basically we have only few bands in thermal region. So that is the part of thermal remote sensing. And thermal remote sensing is also very useful, especially if you want to know the surface temperature or the surface emissivity, or if you want to know if any temperature change is there, or for the forest fire and other things. So this thermal remote sensing is very important. Micro remote sensing is also very important, especially if you are interested for the structural or for landslide studies, or if you want to know neotectonics and fault mapping, if you are interested, this microwave remote sensing is very useful for you. So I'll just one or two slides I will conclude about this digital image. What is that? So do you have any idea what is digital image, why this digital image is important? Any idea? What do you mean by the digital image? Anyone?
A digital image is basically comprising of digital number or pixel data, and opposite to that is analog image, or our vector data is there, vector image is there.
Okay. So Riotic, your name is Riotic, or you have given the computer
No,
name?
sorry. Okay, my name is Sadia, and I'm actually using another ID. I'm sorry.
No problem. So please, can you tell us, is there any, what is the, what is digital data? What do you mean by digital data? Be interactive, my things are not, you are knowing the subject or not, just interaction should be there always, okay?
Digital data is something which we can fed into computer and analyze it. It is in DN values. That's why we call it as digital data.
So if anything I'm
Mechanical
scanning,
values.
that is digital data?
Data is
No.
normally in digital format. That is in a pixel format, which the numbers are there. All those
Mhm.
features are stored in the computer, in digital, and computer can understand digital that numbers about the feature like that.
About the future, sir.
I'm
Yes,
very
yes.
happy actually, very interactive sessions, and more or less. So it's really, I'm glad to interact with you all. So more or less everybody has given the correct answer. Digital image, basically it is an array of numbers. Numbers that is depicting the spatial distribution of certain field parameters. And what are those parameters? Electromagnetic radiation, it can be your emission, it can be your temperature, or some geophysical or topographical elevation. So array of numbers which is having some value, and that value is basically your electromagnetic radiation in case of remote sensing. Emission, if you're interested, like remote sensing, in remote sensing you are going to get the information about the emission also. Temperature, if you're interested for the temperature. And geophysical, if you are doing some geophysical survey, as I told you, aerogeophysical data, there is geophysical values, okay. Topographical elevation, if you have sometimes if you have processed the DEM data. So what is DEM? DEM means digital elevation model. So elevation, once it is there, we are discussing about the value related to your elevation. So it will be in a meters, okay, meters or kilometer, whatever is there. So basically that value is related to elevation. So that number is basically having some value, and those values can be your these parameters. And once these parameters are there, then you can call it digital image. Everything is not digital image. If you are scanning the copy, it's a digital image, because that pixel is not having the value which is representing such parameters. Okay, so digital means these parameters should be there, then you are going to consider it a digital image. So if we'll see how this digital number, what is basically that digital number is there. If we'll see in the remote sensing case, so in a first slide only I told you remote sensing interaction with the electromagnetic radiation with the object on the earth surface. Suppose on the earth surface you have different objects, so different values you are going to get. So this value actually in a pixel, average of all the values, you know, we are representing it a digital number. This is your digital number. So suppose pixel size, somebody was asking, it's a satellite imagery. If you're zooming it, you're going to get these small size features, you know, these are actually pixels, and these pixels are having some values, and values means average of the DN value. DN value means your brightness value, we can say that brightness value is your electromagnetic radiation. Suppose it's a 30 by 30 meter. Okay, in 30 by 30 meter, 4 objects are there. 4 objects are having different values, like one is having 10, one is 20, one is 30, one is 40. So average of four values is your this DN number. Okay, so this is your dip. So every image, if it is having certain value, or it is represented by this number, array of numbers, okay, so that is your digital image. Okay, everything is not digital image. It's a DN, in case of remote sensing, it's a DN value, digital number. I'll just discuss about those things probably. Okay, in the next slide I'll show you. So this, at this you are able to understand array of numbers representing certain parameters. Those parameters can be electromagnetic radiation, emission, temperature, or geophysical values or topographical elevation. First thing you remember it. Okay, so here almost the same thing is there, but yes, every image is made of one small pixel size. What is that small pixel size? Actually, it is representing area, smallest unit area on the earth surface. See, it's if you have your image, it will be like this, you know, but smallest area is represented by this pixel actually. So 30 by 30. So 30 by 30, 30 by 30, n number of pixels will be giving you one scene actually. Okay, so smallest unit is your pixel, or this picture element we call it, and this picture element is having some DN number or digital number or brightness value, or what is that brightness value or digital value. Each pixel is associated with a number known as digital number or brightness value that depicts the average radiance of a relatively small area within a scene. Means in an entire scene we have this pixel, small area, and whatever radiance or whatever brightest value is there, different objects are there, 4 or 5. So 4 or 5 objects are having some values. So average of that is basically your digital number. Please remember it. Okay, so you can see it here. It's a pixel size. So I'm not going to discuss this one. I'll discuss this one actually. See, digital number means what? As we know that these digital numbers are stored in a binary digits. Binary digits means we are talking about in terms of 0 to 255. This value 0 to 255 grayscale. There is certain parameters or scale, that is grayscale 0 to 255. 0 means brighter the pixels. Sorry, 0 means it is your black pixels or black color it is representing, and 255 means it is brighter pixels or white pixels. Okay, so whenever we are talking about digital number, we are talking in terms of bit. So basically it is going to decide about your quality or data of your satellite images. So you just see it here, 10, 15, 17, 18, 20, like that. So suppose this is 2-bit data, means to the power 1-bit data, to the power 1, So 2 levels, 0 and black, 0 and 255. So black and white only. If you have 2-bit data, means 4 levels, 0 to 4, means 4 shades you are going to get. If it's a 8-bit data, so 2 to the power 8, total 256. So once we are trying to get the satellite imagery, basically we are seeing what kind of bit data is there. So maximum shades, maximum information you are going to get about your objects on the surface. If you have this kind of things, so you're not able to differentiate many things. So basically your digital number is basically stored in a computer by digital binary digit, and it is represented in terms of 0 to 255. Okay, if it says totally dark, means it is 0. In a range of 0 to 255, we are getting different shades. Okay, so accordingly we are able to differentiate. So accordingly we are having these values also, like 10 is having, 20 is having some values. Okay, so accordingly we are having some, we are able to get the information about the objects. There is one question: how pixels of different layers behave when we create a composite image from 3 or more bands. See, it is not pixel actually. In one pixel, suppose these are the bands: band 1, band 2, band 3, band 4, right? So here, one particular in this pixel, band 1, band 2, band 3, band 4, everywhere object is same. It is not going to change the object actually. Okay, so value is not going to change actually, you know, value is not going to change, or like, so create a compose, so it is not going to affect your, you know, pixels actually. It is going to show your object. So in some bands, some features are brighter, and some your bands it is darker. Why? Because we are getting bands in a different wavelength range actually. Okay, because if you want to know more about our this in a detail, you just attend our online training program, Basics of Remote Sensing. Each and every detail is given in that. Okay, so you just see it, panchromatic, you have only one band. Multispectral means you have more than one band. Hyperspectral means more than 100 bands. So you can see, like, however, if it's a panchromatic band only, you are going to get such kind of data sets. If you are multispectral, 3D, or if you are hyperspectral data, 3D cube data you are going to get. Okay, so somebody was asking about the resolution. See, once we are discussing about the remote sensing, there are 4 parameters very important for the your identification or selecting any data actually. Like, we are interested for the mineral exploration, somebody is interested for the landslide studies, some can be interested for the land use, land cover, or some can be someone may be interested for the monitoring some changes in area, right? So we all have different objectives, and accordingly we want to select the data sets. So before selecting data set, you should know 4 resolutions. They are very important because these resolutions are very important. According to that, we are able to identify, or we are knowing that what is the potential of that particular image. So 4 parameters are very important. One is spatial, another is spectral, third is temporal, and fourth is radiometric. So spatial means pixel size. As I told you, you have one entire scene. In entire scene, 1 pixel is representing the smallest unit area on the Earth's surface. So if you are interested for the mineral exploration point of view, so high resolution data you are interested, means if it's a 5 by 5 meter spatial resolution data is there, that is good. And if it's a 30 meter or 40 meter, so 40 meter or 50 meter, it is coarse resolution data, because we are not able to see the difference. So spatial resolution means the size or the area which is covered on the Earth's surface represented in terms of pixels is your spatial resolution. Here one example is there. This is the example for the Aster, you know, just see it here. Aster is having 30 by 30 meter resolution. Okay, at the same time, Worldview 3, it says spatial resolution is given 7.5 meter. So for the same area, here we are not able to see the informations, because spatial resolution is very poor spatial resolution. It will compare both the data sets, whereas it's a high spatial resolution, because 1 pixel size is representing 7.5 meter, where it's a 30 by 30 meter. Okay, so here each and every detail we are able to see. So if I'm interested for the mineral exploration, or if you want to see minute details of the surface, so high resolution data is always preferred. I hope the spatial resolution is clear to everyone. At the same time, spectral means what? Spectral means wavelength range. Wavelength range means we are talking about the bands. So as I was telling, wavelength range or spectrum is very important. Like earlier days, we were able to get only one single band, like black and white. So what was happening? One band was generated from 0.4 to 0.7. So only one band. It is like mapping, you know, if on one area, like 10-meter area is there, so you are giving the meters interval, or you are going to give the centimeters interval, like 50 centimeter, 50 centimeter, 50 centimeter for the 10 meters. But at the same time, if you are giving the 1 meter interval, 1 meter, 1 meter, okay, 10. So if you have centimeters mapping, definitely you are going to get the more detail. If you are going in a meters, definitely in between whatever information is there, you are going to lose that information. Same thing is here. You have one wavelength spectrum, and if you are giving more intervals from here to here, here to here, here to here. So in a particular wavelength range, how many bands you are able to get, that is your spectral resolution. Okay. If you are getting one from here to here, from blue to red, I'm only getting one band. So very coarse information. But at the same time, if I have given the interval like this, blue, green and red, 3 bands. So I'm going to get more information in this. I hope it is clear to you and I'm audible to everyone, right?
Yes.
I'm audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Hint of silence is there. Okay. So it is clear, right? Temporal means what? Temporal means revisit period of a sensor. You know, as I told you, means at what date is again revisiting that location is very important. So temporal resolution is important in the case when we are interested to see if any change is there. Like if you want to know after 1 month or after 15 days what is happening, or after 2 months what is happening for the same sensor, if you want to monitor certain area, so in that case your temporal resolution is very important. Okay, so revisit period means if it is visiting today, this city, Hyderabad. So again, at what time it is visiting or what day it is visiting, that is your revisit period. Okay, that is your temporal resolution. So for some sensor, it can be your 15 days. Some sensor, it can be for some other 5, 6, 7 days. It depends on the design of the sensor. Okay, so that is your temporal resolution. Okay. Fourth is your radiometric resolution. Radiometric means what? My sensor is there. So my sensor is there, and on surface many things are there. Many times what is happening, we have different objects, different object, but sometimes it looks very similar kind. Okay, so our human eyes, there are chances we are able to make the mistake. Same thing can be with the your sensor also. So the capability of your sensor to differentiate minor changes on the object or material is your radiometric capability or radiometric resolution, we can say. So like here one example is given, one shade I have given, if we all are going to the some shop and we have to select some color for this, suppose this is also blue, this is also blue or sky blue, we can say, but if you'll see there is some shades differences there. So if our eyes are able to make these differences or not, it's a similar or not, if minor changes we are able to see, that is the beauty, that is your radiometric resolution. So that sensor is able to differentiate this like here very slight difference is there, so your sensor is able to capture that difference or not, that is your radiometric resolution. Is that clear to you? Clear now?
Yes, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So spatial, spectral, temporal, radiometric. So like we are interested in a mineral exploration, so maximum time we are focusing on radiometric resolution also, because many gray shades also very difficult for our eyes, we cannot differentiate, but our sensor can differentiate. So maximum bit data, like if you have 4, 5 bit data, 4-bit data or 12-bit data or 8-bit data. So we are going to prefer 12-bit data or 8-bit data compared to our 4-bit data, because maximum we are going to get the what we can say maximum variations we are going to get, and our sensor can differentiate it. That's why radiometric resolution is important. So I hope now it's very clear. So according to your objective, you can select the data: spatial resolution, spectral, temporal, and radiometric. Just always remember, like if you want to map entire India, if high resolution data, spatial resolution data you were using, it is going to create hell for you, you know. So you go for the core resolution. But if you are going to map small area, so high resolution data you have to opt. Okay. So each and every detail you can see. Otherwise, like this, whatever is there, like that, you are going to get the information. So these 4 parameters are very important when we are doing the remote sensing. Okay. So what are the advantage and disadvantage once we are talking about the remote sensing? See, remote sensing is very important, especially it covers a large area. In a laboratory itself, you are sitting and you're in large area, and synoptic view, you can say synoptic viewers, it's, you know, it's a cost effective, very so nowadays satellite maximum satellite images are free of cost, or some are costly, obviously it depends on the objective, but free of cost is also available, or cost effective we can say. It's a time saving, because before going to an area wherever you're working, before going to that area, prior to that, you're going to get maximum information. So it's a time saving or time efficient. It's a multi-temporal also. You have lots of option to get the data, multi-temporal data, multi-sensor data, multi-spectral data you have. So these are the option nowadays. With the digital data, we can opt those things. And most important thing is that we can go in an inaccessible area using remote sensing. Like somebody was asking for the ocean surface, we can go to Himalayan region without any interruptions. We can visit all those areas. Even we can enter others' territory. Why? Because we have satellite data. We can enter Pakistan also. We can enter in China also with the help of remote sensing data itself. Okay, and faster extraction of GIS data means whatever remote sensing data we have, it's a geocoded data. So whatever information we have, we are extracting from. We can use it for in a GIS platform for our preparation and all. So it's a GIS ready data. But there are certain disadvantages with the remote sensing data also. That is one thing, that it is not like everybody is remote sensor, you know. So friend people are required, you know. It is not like everybody can do. So before doing any remote sensing data, you should have the concept, you should have the idea about the remote sensing data and processing technique. One thing. Another thing, it is very costly or expensive affair once it's applied for the small area, because once we are going for the high resolution data, it is very costly actually. So that is one aspect. But other than that, you are going to get lots of information through remote sensing data. And another thing is that software used for the processing of data is costly actually, you know. So if as a student, if you want to work, as we are professionals, so because our nation is providing us, so we are using softwares. But as a student or research scholar, for you it's really difficult, because processing softwares are very costly. Either it be it AirDAS or NV or ArcJet, these are very costly softwares actually. Okay, so that is a disadvantage. Another is like interpretation solely based on the remote sensing is required ground verification. Why? Because it's a DN value only. DN value, whatever surface is there, we are getting the DN value. Accordingly, some information we are getting. There are chances 75% if you are correct also. For 25% you have to go to your area, you have to verify it, what is there. So to say 100% correct, 25% you have to go in your field validation. Otherwise, whatever results are there, probably you can't say. Even if you're so, for that, you have to visit your area. That is the disadvantage. Okay. Other than that, I think Anup is going to discuss about different data sets. So I'm not going to touch those things. Okay, so different data sets are there, and whatever applications, or if you want to utilize data sets for different applications, n number of data sets are available, especially free of cost. So Anup is going to discuss about those things. Okay, and you can see it here, and there are different websites also. Our Indian National Remote Sensing Center is there. You can visit our ISRO website, NRSC website. You can get it, and you can download maximum data sets. Other than that, Landsat is there, Aster is there, Sentinel is there. So you can visit those data set, like your SI is there, USGS is there, author data is there. So you just explore those websites, you can get the data sets free of cost for your data, for your area. Okay, and as I told you, there are different processing softwares, but for like you, if you're a research scholar or a student, so you can go for the QGIS. It's an open source software, and QGIS is free of cost, and some other data sets, Saga is there, GraphGIS is there. So you just try it and just do some practical exercise. Definitely, it will be beneficial. And if you want to read more, if you want to make your doubts clear and detail about remote sensing, so we have lots of books actually. So please go from through these books to clear your doubts. And anything is there, definitely I'm there to discuss. Any question is there, you can ask us. So thank you very much. Any question is there, any doubt is there, please let me know. So I
Hello,
can
ma'am.
just,
Actually,
please.
ma'am, I lost my connection was lost during the radiometric resolutions. Can you please explain once more?
Please, I'll see. Radiometric resolution means what? Sensors' capability to differentiate between similar looking objects means sometimes what is happening, two objects, even they are different, but they look similar actually. So your sensor is able to differentiate those minor changes or not. That capability is your radiometric resolution. Like suppose we have shades of colors, like red, we have shades of red color. Many people, they don't have difference, but ladies are very particular about that. No, this shade is different, So that difference, if you are able to make it or not, that is very important. So same thing is with your sensor also. Similar kind, it looks similar, but basically it is not similar. So that difference, if you are able to make out, that is your radiometric resolution. Is that clear to you?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Welcome. So I can see some questions. Yes, there is one question. Satellite or object data placed on space to monitor a particular planet. See, if you remember, Mars study was there, Moon surface study is there, and yes, how we are able to know that what is the composition of a Moon surface or Mars surface, because of this planetary remote sensing only. So sensor was placed like that, so that we can see the remote sensing information from their surface, and we were able to identify the composition of the surface of Mars or Moon. Okay, so.
Is the
Yes.
GSI involved in studying the other planetary bodies, or is there a
So
body of
far,
GSI who is currently doing that?
no, we are not involved in a planetary type of things, because our basic thing is mainly we are interested in remote sensing for mineral exploration and disaster related things. So our focus is that only. ISRO, I think ISRO is involved in that, because their objective is totally different from ours. So they are involved in that. And
Okay.
okay, so if any question I have missed, you can ask me. Okay. How pixel size of different sensors vary? Yes, different sensor, once it is launched, that time only how much area it is going to cover and what will be the pixel size, it will be decided already actually according to requirement. Like some sensor are placed for the for geosciences application. Some sensors are placed for the for agriculture point of view, or some for mapping of your forest. So accordingly, sensors are designed, and accordingly that pixel size is also decided. So one scene and what is the pixel size, those things will be decided accordingly.
To identify lineaments as geological structure for a groundwater potential study like that.
Tomorrow I'm going to discuss about this application part. Definitely, I'll show you some examples so that it will give you a clear picture actually. Probably tomorrow, whatever questions are there about lineament also I'll discuss.
Particularly how to map also geomorphological features, including
I will
geological
discuss
structure.
tomorrow. Actually, all application I'm going to discuss tomorrow. Please be there, sir. Okay.
Thank you,
Definitely,
thank you.
because application part, especially I have given that time for our geosciences as well as for the engineering purpose also, so that how we can utilize this remote sensing and GIS technique for mapping of lineament or fault or for how it looks in a satellite imagery. I'm going to discuss
Yes,
tomorrow.
yes. Okay, thank you.
Welcome. There is one question. A sensor having high spatial and high spectral resolution will generally have a high radiometric resolution over those which are having lower spatial, and it is not like that. It is totally depends on the, I mean, how, what is the need, why this sensor is launched actually. Accordingly, everything will be decided actually. Okay. It is not like if your number of bands are more or spatial resolution, because many things are there we cannot control actually. So it is totally and purely depends on the sensor design actually. Space traffic, what meaning? Space traffic means, see, every time we are launching some satellite or sensor in a space, but we are not bringing it back. If you consider since 1969 or 72, sensors are being launched every year. If you're launching some sensor, so where those sensors are going actually, and for different applications. So they are in a space only. We are not bringing it back. That is your space traffic basically. Okay. So other than that,
Ma'am, I have something.
please.
Ma'am, regarding this weather, the temperature.
Hmm.
So we are able to see the weather temperature of different places of the earth a particular day. Means how is this being done? Means suppose if
That
we
is
talk
also.
about India, there are different states. So we know it on the beforehand only for coming to that this will be the temperature. Whereas various data sets are used to record the changes in temperature which has not been occurred, but before that we have calculated the data that this will be the temperature.
Yes. That is also, as I told you, we have specific sensors for the weather and communication, you know. So remote sensing, again, here for the meteorological purpose also we are using remote sensing data only, and we are calculating. Even not only that, for the coastal areas, how we are doing this rescue operation and all, that is also depending on the remote sensing data. So that is especially related to our geosynchronous data actually that is being used. Okay. And yes, surface temperature and all, everything is being calculated, and probably some probability they are calculating if this is there. So what could be tomorrow? Accordingly, they are generating the data sets for rain, for heat waves, for cold waves. Okay, for everything they are able to get the information because of the satellite. We are using in our everyday life remote sensing, but probably we are not aware. So again, they are using this remote sensing only. And anything I have missed? Okay, the speed of aircraft affect the. Yes. There is one question actually. Does the speed of the aircraft affect the aerial photography? Yes. See, many factors are there. Your speed or altitude. You know, if aerial photography is being done, what is happening? You cannot keep your aircraft at particular altitude constant. It will come up and down, So better you join our online training program. There we have described each and every point actually. Okay, if suppose it is placed on suppose 150 meter above the earth surface. Okay, but 150 meter, can you keep it constant? No. And your surface is also not a plane. Somewhere it's elevated, somewhere it's a plane. So accordingly, up and down. So your view angle is also going to change, and accordingly your view angle is going to change, means pixel size and your aircraft, many things are factors are there which are going to play the role for the remote sensing. So once such kind of data is being generated, these are taken care actually.
Ma'am,
Is that clear
I
to
think,
you?
yeah, ma'am, I think during the aerial photography, the incident ray is put in such a way that before this reflected ray will be collected, the plane will be in that position. As far I guess, I think this
No, it is not like that. Actually, see, every sensor is having some angle, look angle actually. Okay. So it is designed like that, and it is moving and it is collecting information. If two sensors are placed, like one is like this and one is getting the information like that. Okay. Or in a same sensor only it is going to be collected. Yes. Your altitude, speed of the aircraft, all are changing, and wind also is going to play a major role, because if it's a very speed is more, it is going to affect your aircraft. So many factors are there actually in that. Okay.
Thank you.
So, see, we are offering 2 more courses. If you are interested for more basics of remote sensing, please join our online training. It's a free of cost. Just you have to register there and you can complete it. If you're not able to complete it within 1 month, also you can re-register, or you just, because I'm the course coordinator for that also, you can send me mail. So I can I can permit you again. So if once you're completing that training program also, you're going to get the certificate. So there is no problem, you can get that. So Anup, are you there? So anything, any more question is there? Anything I have missed? Be interactive. Definitely we are.
Yes, ma'am.
Somebody has asked. Let me question answer. Where the radiometric resolution matters the most. Like for our mineral exploration point of view, if you'll see, we want to differentiate minerals, different minerals, because for us mineral is important. Okay. Ashutosh, please mute yourself. So we are interested to map the minerals. Okay, so their radiometric resolution is very important, especially like clay. If I'm talking about clay, it's a very broad term, clay, but in clay group of minerals, so many minerals are there. So my sensor is able to differentiate that composition or not. That is your radiometric resolution. Okay. Otherwise, by naked eye, it's the same thing for you or for me also, until unless we are going for some petrographical detail studies. Otherwise, it's the same for us. So your sensor is able to differentiate or not. That is going to be decided by this radiometric resolution. Is that clear to you now? Okay. So
Ma'am, is there any free source of the satellite imagery which is having high radiometric resolutions?
Yes, you can take this extra data. Extra data is having high radiometric resolution. I think it's a 12-bit data. Anup, are you there?
Yeah, ma'am. 12-bit data as well as 16-bit data are also there.
So you can increase the radiometric resolution also by doing some radiometric. What is that term, Anup? Anup?
Yeah, ma'am.
We can increase the radiometric resolution also.
Yeah, rescale. We can rescale them.
So you can rescale it and you can increase also. So 12-bit radiometric resolution is very high resolution. To the power 12. Just see it, how many gray shades you are going to get. Means it's a good data. Raghuveer, are you there?
Right, ma'am. Right, ma'am. Thank you. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
So I hope, Anup, my session is over. If you have to consider, sorry, I have taken too much time for your side also, I think.
It's okay, no problem. So shall we give them a 5 minutes break so that they are sitting for a long. So
So thank you very much, all the participants. We thank you for being so interactive. So tomorrow again, I'm going to meet you and I'll discuss about the application part. So I hope whatever remaining questions are there, I'm going to give answer tomorrow. Okay, thank you very much. So after 5 minutes, you can join the session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am.